Next up, we've got an Atlanta street fight with the Midnight Express taking on Jimmy Valiant and Miss Atlanta Lively, who is Ronnie Garvin in drag. And of course, the WWF takes a lot of criticism, justifiably so, for some of their rather silly and outrageous creative, but dressing up Ronnie Garvin in drag, this is 1985. The finish sees Bobby Eaton go up top for the Alabama Jam, but Garvin catches him coming down with a forearm to the face for the win. You know, the Midnights are one of the most talented tag teams of all time, and this just sort of feels like a bit of a throwaway match here to me. Am I wrong?
No, that's probably exactly what it was. And it was, put Bobby and Dennis out there, they can make it happen with anybody. And I'm sure they did. I'm sure they kept the excitement level up.
Talk to me about Jimmy Valiant. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about him here on the show. Tony Schiavone, big fan of Jimmy Valiant. Thought he was very entertaining on his promos. And of course, he's probably, more entertainment, but than in-ring action, but still the crowd, for whatever reason with JCP, man, they love some Jimmy Valiant. They love the Boogie Woogie Man.
Well, in those days, you had a spot for a gimmick, at least one gimmick, more than one, you'd be pushing it, but it turned out that way sometimes. But in a territory, you had a gimmick, and Jimmy Valiant was a gimmick. He'll be the first one to tell you he was a gimmick. And it wasn't about body or ability to wrestle, or storytell. All he did was entertain. And he was great for the kids, and he was great for the older folks who were fans, that just wanted to have a good time. And you had to go out and you had to work around Jimmy. Jimmy had some famous spots, and one of them was the pit. We called it the piss spot, to where Jimmy grab a headlock, you'd shoot him off, you'd drop down, he'd drop down beside you, you'd look over, and there's a Jimmy Valiant laying right beside you. You'd pop up on all fours. He'd pop up on all fours, raise his leg like a dog pissing on you. And the audience all got it. And you roll out and raise hell and bitch at the grandma that was ringside that had a cane, who once you fussed at her a little bit and then turned your back, she'd break the cane over your back. And that was not part of the show. It just happened sometimes. But Jimmy was great for talking. He could talk now. He had a strong rap. He could talk them in the building. But for the more physical guys, like the Barbarians of the world and those guys that needed to go out and bounce you around, it was not a good booking. He needed a Midnight Express or an Arn Anderson or a Tully Blanchard or one of those guys that could go out and just feature Jimmy stuff. And it was understood, and he was a good guy, and it was Jimmy Valiant. The Boogie Woogie Man. It was a night off. That's for sure. If you got hurt working with Jimmy Valiant, you should have been, thrown out of the business, incarcerated, and hung from a flagpole, because it just didn't happen.